And as California sees one of the worst wildfires in decades, Governor Ron DeSantis today says he is ready to help. Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders joining us live tonight from Tallahassee. Forrest, any timetable on when Governor DeSantis will send that help on, and what exactly might that look like?
Well, I mean, that's a great question, but at this point, they're kind of waiting to see if California is going to actually request any of that aid, right? I mean, California is all the way out there on the other side of the country, the West Coast, right? So they have got other states that are nearby, closer, and might be able to better serve them. So we are sort of in a standby position here. But Florida is no stranger to wildfires. In fact, we rank among the top 10 for states across the country when it comes to the number of fires each year. That's a statistic I didn't even realize. And the state officials here in Florida say that we're well placed to help out if needed.
In the last few days, some California towns have been reduced to little more than ash as wildfires continue to rage outside Los Angeles.
I don't know. It's really heartbreaking. It honestly has left me a little bit speechless.
Thousands have had to flee as emergency crews flood the area trying to contain the blaze. That's as some homeowners start to return, worried about what they'll find.
Part of the reason I'm here now is I want to see it and kind of deal with it myself.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, Florida officials now say they stand ready to help.
So the governor and I have collaborated together, providing resources out to California.
It's Florida Chief Financial Officer and Fire Marshal Jimmy Petronis. Much like what Florida offered during the 2023 Maui blaze, Petronis said his office has fire investigators, dogs, and structural engineers on standby.
They know what they're looking at. And what's the upside to it right now? We're not in hurricane season. We can deploy these resets right now without worrying about covering our own concerns right here in Florida.
It comes as Florida Emergency Management says it too is ready to deploy. The state ag department, which manages forestry, saying something similar. Quote, we stand ready to assist any state if asked. However, given the distance between California and Florida, they are likely to seek assistance from neighboring states first. The offer comes after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis kicked things off with an online post this week. When disaster strikes, we must come together to help our fellow Americans in any way we can. It's a much different tone compared to November of 2023.
You almost have to try to mess California up. And yeah, that's what Gavin Newsom has done since he's been governor.
That's when the Florida and California governors sparred on a Fox News stage, hitting each other over vastly different political ideologies.
But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
Since then, Newsom, too, has put politics aside for the greater good. For Hurricanes Helene and Milton, California sent a combined more than 400 personnel from their urban search and rescue teams. Whether the Golden State will now need the help of the Sunshine State as these wildfires continue to burn remains to be seen, though their devastating effects are clear.
This relationship between Newsom and DeSantis is a very interesting one to watch, in particular because both of these politicians are thought to be potential contenders for the next presidential cycle. We're, of course, talking about 2028, something to keep in mind as we march forward into this uncertain political future.
Yeah.
That's the latest out here at the state capitol. Back to you.
Yeah, Forrest, you know, there's politics and then there's real tough times like what we're seeing out there. And when we hear the word disaster here in Florida, we think of hurricanes, but we have seen some big brush fires, albeit on a smaller scale compared to out west.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we see a lot of these fires up here in the north part of the state. So if you live down in Miami or maybe even the Tampa region, you may not be as aware of some of the nasty wildfires that we can get. And one of the things that was a big concern post-Michael was all of this dried wood that we had in the northern part of the Panhandle, right? It was just sitting there rotting out in the sun. And the fear was that one of these fires could spark and just take a big swath of the beautiful forest that we have up here in northern Florida. That didn't happen, fortunately, but it is something that is a constant concern for forestry officials as they look at this state and try and do what they can to prevent any kind of natural disasters like what we're seeing out in California.
Yeah, I've covered a lot of those brush fires in southwest Florida, and yeah, they're certainly no joke. Forrest Saunders joining us live in Tallahassee tonight. Thank you for your insight.